Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a Thursday night live. This is a bonus. We are going to make our 3D project that we did not get to on Monday or Tuesday. All right. So let's go ahead and see who jumps on. Give everybody a minute or two to get in here. Go ahead and let me know when you jump on. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Laura. So glad you could join me. Hey, Laura, let's talk later. I have a free day tomorrow. Okay. Oh, I see somebody else jumping on. Our project tonight is going to be a continuation of the sweets and treats. I'm going to show you how to make a fall 3D project. So, thank you for sharing, Jennifer. Appreciate that. Cool. Okay. Well, as you can tell, the Sweets and Treats is located on page 11 of the July to December mini catalog. And we made 2 projects on Tuesday night. So if you missed those, go back and check that out. In addition to the Sweets and Treats, we're going to be using the 2020 to 2022 in color designer series paper, and in this you get 40 sheets, I think. You get 4 each of the papers, and there are 4 double-sided design, or 4 designs. Okay, so we're going to be using the cinnamon cider, and we're going to be using this pattern tonight. Those can be found in the mini catalog, and those are the colors that we'll be retiring in at the end of May. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Our supplies tonight, in addition to the Sweets and Treats, we're also going to be using the Stitch So Sweetly dies. If you've been watching me for very long, you know that I use these quite a bit. You're going to need a piece of cinnamon cider cardstock that is 6 3/8 by 4 1/2. Or if you want to make it simple for yourself, cut it at 6 1/2 by 4 1/2, and then we'll just trim a sliver. I believe that that's what I've done with this, because I keep forgetting to cut the 6 3/8. So this one will be at 6 1/2, and we're just going to trim that down. Oh no, I actually cut this one at 6 3/8. Good for me. Okay, so 6 3/8 by 4 1/2. Then we need a piece of the designer series paper that is cut at 2 3/8 by 2 7/8. And if you have a directional pattern, you want your pattern to be portrait up and down. Okay. Then you'll need a scrap piece of cinnamon cider for stamping. And you need a piece of very vanilla cardstock for stamping and die cutting. Okay? So let's go ahead and do our stamping first. Let's move our dies out of the way. And we don't need the box, the cardstock or DSP at the moment. So we're going to take this piece of cinnamon cider, and in Tuxedo Memento Black, I am going to stamp, and I suppose you could do this in Early Espresso or another color, but I'll be using the Memento Black, so this way I only have to use one ink. So I'm just going to stamp my sentiment out with that. Then I'm going to get my scrap piece of Very Vanilla. And this scrap piece needs to be big enough to cut out your die cut. Okay, so we're going to start with the cake platter on this from the stamp set. And normally you would use this in this orientation, but we are not going to use that. We are going to turn it upside down and get double duty from our stamp. Okay, then we're going to take a Post-it note or Post-it tape, whatever you have, and we're going to mask the bottom of the cake platter, or actually it would be the top, because we are going to use the base of the platter kind of like a plate or bowl. Okay, so we're just going to mask that up, and then we're going to ink up our stamp. We're going to pull away the platter, and then we're going to stamp this just below the center, like so. Okay, then I'm going to take my caramel apple, and I'm going to ink that up, and I'm going to place it to the left of the platter. Just lining that up so that my apple touches the plate. And then I'm going to move to the right enough that my apples aren't going to touch, and stamp that down again. Okay. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut this out using the Stitch So Sweetly, and we're going to use this die, which is the second largest in the set. And we're going to cut this so that our caramel apples are at the top, leaving room for our sentiment at the bottom. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull out our mini boss. And I've already got that Post-it note. So I'm just going to line that up. Stick my Post-it note down. Whoops. Of course, I just set my plate on the... Oh, and that's not going to work out for me very well. Let me get a small piece. I got a piece of Post-it tape right here. And then I don't have to deal with that. So we'll go ahead and put this a piece of Post-it note. Because we're using the mini boss, we don't have a lot of excess space. So we'll just line that up. Then we'll put our top plate on. And then we'll just slide this on through the mini. Okay, and that is all of our die cutting. And this is what we have left. Now, by die cutting that first, before I color it, I've given it time to the ink to dry. So let's get that out of the way. And then we'll take our Stampin' Blends and we'll color our images. So we're going to start with the plate and we're going to color that with the light smoky slate. Hello, Mary. Thanks for joining. I'm just going to give that a quick little coat. And then I'm going to go back with the dark. Oh, this is a new one. I haven't labeled it. Gotta look for the regular teeny tiny print. And I'm going to put some shadow under there. And then I'm going to go back and blend that all in. All right. Next, we're going to color our apples, and I'm going to color those with light and dark Granny Apple. I'm just going to color the tops of those. Okay. Go back with just a tiny bit of shadow, and I'm not even going to blend that in. I'm just going to let it be. And then we have our light and dark cinnamon cider for our caramel. Just going to color that in. Notice how I'm rotating it so I'm not at weird angles. Makes it easier for me to stay in the lines. Okay, I'm going to go back with the dark. I'm going to go on those lines that the artist drew. And I'm just going to let that be. It's such a tiny area that it stays wet enough that it blends pretty much on its own. Okay, and again, we'll go back with the dark. And then we need the light crumb cake. And we're just going to color in the apple sticks. Okay. And there we have our coloring complete. And we could stop there, but I did not. So we're going to grab our Wink of Stella, and I'm going to put some Wink of Stella on the platter. And then to give the caramel some shine, I'm going to take the Shimmery Crystal Effects. And I'm going to put this on the caramel. And I'm just squeezing lightly and then running the tip up and in those crevices. And then I'll move on to my second one. The thicker that you get this, the longer it takes to dry, and the more chance you have of getting bubbles. Okay. Then we'll just set those aside to dry. And that's what we have. And then we'll have some shine. Okay, so I'm going to set this completely out of the way so I don't destroy it. We're going to fussy cut our sentiment. So I want this to fit down inside of our die cut. So we're just going to give this a quick cut. Like so. And that is now ready to go. All right. So now we have our pieces. We can move on with our scoring. Okay. So we're going to use our Simply Scored. And we are going to score this on the 6 3/8 inch side. Actually, let's start at the 4 1/2. And we're going to score that at 1/2. And I'm going to use the small end of my stylus. So we're going to score this at 1/2, 3 1/2, and 4. And I'm going to rotate it clockwise, and I'm going to score the 6 3/8 inch side at 1/2, 3, 3 1/2, and 6. Okay. And that's all of our scoring. Okay, so the glue tab is going to be this slightly, or is going to be this, no, it's going to be this slightly smaller side. Right? Yep. It's going to be this piece on the left. Or, hang on, I think I scored it backwards. So it needed to be, this is the side that's going to tuck in for the glue tab. So this is going to be the glue tab. Sorry guys. I've got mine backwards because I didn't score the 6 1/2 and rotate. So let's do that again just so you know the easiest way to get that done. And then it will match up with my template. Okay, so we'll cut, I'm going to cut 4 1/2. So cut 4 1/2, and then you'll be able to get 2 out of a sheet of cardstock. So 4 1/2, and then 6 3/8 or 6 1/2. So I tend to cut 2 inches off because it's 8 1/2. If you're lazy and you don't want to get out the arm, and then you can just trim a 1/16 sliver off to make it all fit up nice and snug. Okay. If you use the whole 6.5 inch, it will work, but it'll bow just a little bit when you fold it. Okay, so again, we're going to score this 6 3/8 inch side at 1/2, 3, 3.5, and 6. Then rotate clockwise and score at 1/2 inch, 3.5, and 4. All right. Now this will all match up perfectly with my template. Okay. So this is going to be our glue tab. And it's the slightly smaller. This is a full 1/2 inch and this is the smaller. So we're going to miter cut on this, which is just inside the score mark. And then we're going to cut up and remove that piece. Okay. Now down here on this other end, we're going to cut up. And then we'll miter cut up to meet that and take off that piece. Okay, so far this is what we have. All right, so then we're going to move to the top and I'm going to cut. Let me burnish my score marks. At this point, we'll burnish our score marks. This box has been specifically designed to hold 4 of the Werther's Originals Harvest Caramel in the caramel apple. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're going to, got our glue tab to the right, we're going to rotate it, and then we're going to cut down on this score mark to the second horizontal score. And then we're going to fold this down and we're going to remove this piece. Okay, so far this is what we have. Okay, looks like our template on this side. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and cut to the right of the next score mark, and then we're going to cut to the left of the final score mark. Okay, and then I'm going to fold this down in a way, and I'm going to remove the top the top square on each of those, forming a tab. Okay, then I want to take a little miter cut, just a little one, just like that, off of each of those tabs. That will just make them fold into our box nicer and will allow our lid to fold in a little bit nicer. Okay, so far we're looking a lot like our template. So now we're going to take on the bottom and we're going to go to the last score mark on the right, and I'm going to cut to the left of that, or to the right of that score mark, and I'm going to move over 1 score mark to the left, and I'm going to cut to the left of that score mark. Then I'm going to miter cut out those score lines completely. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the other end. Miter cut to remove the score. And then we are looking a lot like our template. Okay? So now we're going to take a corner rounder. You can use any that you have, and if you don't have one, there is the Detailed Trio Punch in the annual catalog, which contains a corner rounder. I happen to have an old small one that I really like, so I continue to use it. Okay, then the last thing that we're going to do is put in a tuck tab, okay, or a finger notch. And you don't need to be picky, but I am. So this box is 2.5 inches wide. So I'm going to make a mark at 2 1/4 with my pencil, or at 1 1/4. And then I'm going to take a 1/2 inch circle punch, and I'm just going to notch that out. Now, if you don't have a 1/2 inch circle punch, you have a 1 inch circle punch, or a 3/4 inch circle punch. Those will all work. And if you don't have any of those, it isn't an absolute necessity to put the notch in. It just makes it a little bit easier for the recipient to open the box. So now we're going to take our piece of designer series paper. Remember, this is cut at 2 3/8 by 2 7/8. And I'm going to add that to my box front. And that is going to be the piece that is not finger notched, that has our tab. So we're going to put it on the box top there. And we're just going to put that in place. You can put this on after you put your box together, but it's a little bit easier to do it now. Okay, so now we're going to flip this over. And we're going to put some, well, actually, let's put our tear and tape before we flip it. I'm going to put a little bit of tear and tape on the glue tab on the outside, the side that has our designer series paper. I'm going to put that glue tab right up next to that score line. Okay. And then we're going to put a piece, we're going to flip it over and put a piece of tear and tape along the box bottom on the same opposite end of your box top. And we're just going to put that along the bottom edge. You could use liquid glue, or you could use Stampin' Seal Plus. But I wouldn't recommend the regular seal. Oops, let's get the correct tip. We want our poker tip. And I'm going to release our backing paper on this one. And because we've cut that at an angle, we're just going to fold that strip back on itself. And then I'm going to fold this on the second score line. Okay, this is the first, this is the second. I'm going to fold it on the second. And then on the right hand side here, I'm going to fold this on the first score line. I'm going to line up those two score lines, and then I'm going to burnish that. Okay. Now, here I like to go ahead and fold in my tabs and fold in my box top. Then I'm going to remove my backing paper from my box bottom, from the front. Then I can fold my tabs in, fold in the back, and then fold over the front. And then I'm going to open that up And I'm going to give it a press inside with my bone folder just to burnish that tear and tape into place so my box bottom doesn't pop open. Okay, so there's our box. Now all we have left is to fill it and decorate. So we're going to fill it with these limited edition Harvest Caramels by Werther's. And like I said earlier, I designed this box to fit 4. So we're going to go ahead and put those in our box. Whoops, that one went in. You want to lay them down flat. Push them in, and 4 will fit perfectly. Okay, so those are filled. Then we're going to turn our box open, or over. And we're going to grab our caramel apples. Now, I did some earlier so that they would be all dry and you wouldn't need to wait. So we're going to add this to our box front. And we're going to do that with some Stampin' Dimensionals. So I'm just going to put one at the bottom, one on each side. Remove my backing papers. And then I'll add that in the center of my box. Just like so. Then we'll grab the sentiment that we cut. And we're going to get some mini dimensionals for this. And I'm going to put one on each side and then one down in the center. This box is almost finished. We're going to take our tasty treat and we're going to set this just below our apples and leave just a little bit of the Very Vanilla showing at the bottom. And then we're going to take a piece of linen thread and I'm going to tie a bow. Going to tie a double bow. Oh, I actually didn't get the linen thread. Whoops! Got the white baker's twine. All right. There we go. Just going to tie that up. Grab a glue dot. And we're going to roll that up with our finger into a little log. And then we'll take our Take Your Pick tool, pick that off, and I'm going to put this at the top between my caramel apple sticks. Like so. Okay, I'm going to trim those off a bit. And there is our quick little treat box. Okay. And that is our project for the night. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, hearts. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think you might want to make some of your own. They really are pretty quick. They don't take a lot of time. Pretty easy. Thank you, guys. All right. So I will be back on Tuesday night with some more projects. I believe we will be using the sweet pumpkins. Is that what it's called? Sweet pumpkin? Anyway, the pumpkin set. Pretty sure that's what we're going to be doing on Tuesday. So, hope to see you soon. Have a great weekend, everybody. And I'll see you next time. If you're watching the replay, thank you for watching. See everybody later. Good night.